have an opportunity to get together. Chris and I have been around a long time. Chris Rossetti of D9and10sports.com, and we're going to prove how long we have been around because, Chris, I have a shirt. It's the Kozel Foundation, and shout out to Larry Salone and his crew, and we don't have to get too far into that, but that was a heck of a lot of fun for many years.
Oh, yeah,
2005, let's prove it. That's older than, the kids.
What was the first year of that game, Rich? 99, 2000?
2000.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, Karn City won the state championship.
So this was basically a senior all-star game, and we basically, by 2005 for sure, you and I were very active together in getting these rosters together. Some of the guys, we checked the rosters out here just to show what, how old we are and how old these people are now too. Who are some of those guys? I heard Jordan Hoover brought up.
Jordan Hoover played for the one all-star team. He's been coaching DuBois Central Catholic now for a long time. The girls, obviously, they finished third this year. A bit of a disappointment, I know, for Jordan. He was really hoping to defend their championship from last year, but Clarion Limestone, who ended up winning it, knocked them off in the semifinals. And then I thought the interesting thing was one of the boys coaches that year was Steve Andressi, who's now the head coach of the District 9 champion Karn City Lady Gremlins. And one of the girls coaches was Roger Walter, who's now the head coach of the North Clarion Wolves, who finished third in the boys single A. So those guys switched genders that they were coaching. Roger was coaching at Clarion at the time. Steve was coaching at Karn City. So he's coached both the boys and the girls at Karn City. Been around for a long time.
Great people, by the way, and great coaches. And hey, you like to see those guys hang around for a long time. Clearly, now Roger hasn't been coaching solid since then, but he's been around. He's officiated. He's coached. And Steve, what a good job he's done at Karn City. They with the girls right now. Stacy Heberling was Player of the Year for the girls for the season.
She went on to have a really nice career at IUP, if you remember.
Yep. And then Tyler Callahan. Wow.
25 points a game. Twice scored over 40 that year for Karn City. Yeah. Made Steve Andressi getting an all-star coaching job pretty easy.
Oh, absolutely. Just wanted to touch that because it's been, every year we have this conversation about this time. Well, how many teams are going to get through the first round? We have 17 District 9 teams starting the state playoffs Friday and Saturday. And, we're not necessarily predicting, but we're looking at how teams can make noise. And in general, Chris, this year, we felt a down year, or how would you characterize that? As you've watched more basketball in District 9 than anybody. So we've talked almost, at least 2-3 times a week at the least on this season. How would you look back and, obviously this first round is going to confirm or deny what we've said, because it's time to compare ourselves, District 9 to other districts.
An interesting year, a year where teams relied on one player as opposed to 2 or 3, more so this season. How does that translate once you get into the state playoffs and teams can, teams are spending a week preparing for you? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Teams that you thought were really good in the regular season turned out in the playoffs not to be. Montauk comes to mind to me. The DuBois Central Catholic girls, you kind of thought they were going to repeat, and then they go out and really were never really in that semifinal game. Right. The Clarion boys won the KSAC regular season again, but again, struggled in both the KSAC and then the district championship games. Never really were in either of those games. It's Cranberry lost again in the sub-regional, meaning that, instead of, playing like 7-6, you're going down and you're playing 7-1, and huge difference between playing at home against 7-6 and going to Aliquippa for them.
Oh, yeah. The trip to Aliquippa's, and we'll get to the breakdown here. And really, we'll start Class A boys. One of the standard bearers of District 9, Elk County Catholic, winning a district title over Johnsonburg. Just the one thing I did look up here on research, they've won 10 first-round games in a row, dating back to their last loss to Homer Center in 2014. They didn't play in 2021 because that was a COVID year. Only the champs went. They did not win that year. They lost. Clarion was a D9 champs. But Chris, that bracket, they open with Monessen at home. Remember, these first-round games are home sites, and you and I have, I think, the same opinion on that. But they're at home against
they're
Ness and
kind of
Whitfield.
home sites. You
Yeah.
know, some schools get the home game, some schools have to go to neutral. Some of it's based on whether or not you maybe fibbed a little bit on the PIAA form that said you had enough room along your baselines and sidelines, and whether or not your gym held enough. It's the whole system is a mess right now, Rich. It really is. Like you look at a team with a small gym that's playing a home game, and then you look at a team like Carn City, which we've both been there. It's a pretty big gym. They have to go play at Montauk. You know, Eisenhower has to over in District 10 has to go play at Warren. But Elk County Catholic gets a home game.
Right.
In a tiny gym. Johnsonburg gets a home game in a tiny gym. The whole system, and I'm not great for those schools, right?
Yeah.
But like it's a system that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And you know, the best that anybody can give me is, well, it's hard to find neutral sites. And I'm like, well, what in the world changed from 2020 to now that it's so much harder to find neutral sites? I feel like that's a really lazy answer. Like we act like it's been like decades and decades since we've had home sites, but it's, you know, we were doing it in 2020 where we were neutral, but now all of a sudden, I go on all day about the.
Oh yeah. Well, COVID changed. They decided to stick with that.
I understood why we did it in COVID, but I don't know if it really needed to continue after COVID.
Yeah, the only difference now is you're allowed to have fans in the gym.
Yeah.
So Elk has the Whitfield 3, and we know that 9-1, 9-2 first round, or even the bracket moving forward, seems to sometimes favor the runner-up. Johnsonburg at home against West Middlesex. How do you look at those two teams who have been two of the better teams in the district?
So Monessen comes in having lost, I think, 3 of 5 going in. I mean, they didn't exactly finish the season very strong. They've got to make that trip all the way up to Elk, which is never an easy trip for those teams from the city areas. And you know, they're in Westmoreland County, but it may as well be, you know, the city still. And lots of 2-lane windy roads and all of that. And then you got to go play an Aaron Straub coach team where Aaron Straub's had a whole week to prepare for you. Good luck.
Yeah, they have some data ready for Monessen, I'm guessing. And Johnsonburg, right there, they're going to play West Middlesex. How good is West Middlesex in, single A in District 10? What's the Big Red have there? And they obviously lost in the final.
Yeah, they're an under 500 team, but again, it's hard to sometimes judge because some of the regions over there become a little bit more difficult for some of the smaller schools. The Golub, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. The Golub brothers are pretty good for West Middlesex. The thing with Johnsonburg, they go as Parker Calla and Jude Schreiber go, really. Maybe Will Elmquist. Maybe that's the real key. Elmquist was kind of shut down by ECC in the championship game after having some really nice games for them. And so, hats off to Cole Peterson and the job that he's done coaching Rich. I know there's a little bit of a rift between Johnsonburg and our site, and I'm going to say that out loud, but I don't know why. I know that Cole and I haven't always agreed in the past, but if Cole's willing to move past it, I'm willing to move past it. I think he's done a heck of a job coaching this year. I think they've done a heck of a job playing this year. They started out really strong. We weren't sure what they were going to be like. They had a little bit of a lull, but he got them back together and really playing well. And you got to tip your hat to that group. They're really playing hard. They've had a really nice season, and I honestly think they're definitely a team that can make second round of the states. Now, you win that, you're probably running into the Whitfield champion, and that's probably tough. But
who is that again?
Neighborhood Academy again.
Oh yeah.
And so, but the thing of it is they like to play that. They've been playing that 3-2 in the playoffs. That was the defense they were playing when Cole coach played up there, and that's a tough defense to face. I mean, Elk, the first time it saw it in the D9 Central League game, ended up losing. And Aaron Straub, in what I thought was a remarkable admission, it said they really hadn't practiced against a zone most of the year, which really surprised me. But then they spent 2 weeks practicing against it and were a lot better with it. So
I think not getting into the schematics too much. A 3-2 zone is one of the ones that now a 1-3-1 trapping half court zone is, if you have the personnel, that can be pretty lethal. But a 3-2 zone played effectively, man. I don't want to see that on if my offense is average for sure. I think maybe D9 might have another winner out of that Class A foursome. North Clarion versus Turkey Foot Valley, Cameron County at Forbes Road. Turkey Foot Valley, an example of their court's not good enough. They're going to Somerset because apparently they can't shoot a three in the corner, I'm told. But do you see a win by either one of those teams? I know North Clarion's been one of your favorite, hey, look out, this team's playing their butts off. They could make some noise teams this year.
Yeah, and Cameron, if I'm not mistaken, beat Forbes Road last year when they were the 3 and Forbes Road was the 2 out of District 5, and they beat them pretty handily. Now, they're both different teams, obviously, so you don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, would I be stunned if both of them won? No, I wouldn't be stunned. Is it a little bit more difficult because you're going and making the long trip? Sure, it is. Is it more difficult for North Clarion because, this group hasn't ever been there and done that? I'll say this. I was really impressed with the way they rebounded in the district Concy game, third place game against Cameron. I really thought after they lost to Johnsonburg, they were in trouble, but those came out, played loose, won. If they play loose, they're obviously athletic. You have Logan Bish in there, and he's one of the better athletes in District 9. Irwin is a nice shooter for them. And then really Ethan Walter has just come on in the second half, really the last third of the season as a freshman. And, he's about 6'3", 6'4" already. And maybe I'm giving him a couple inches more than he deserves, but at least 6'2". And, right. He's got a chance. That's Roger's son. He's got a chance to be really good, I think. Really, really good. He's been really good down the stretch for them. Right. So, and then Cameron, I like Beckett Burr. I like Malachi Zukel. I like Isaac Gravance. Gives them a real big target inside. So would I be stunned? No, I wouldn't be stunned. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen at the end of the day either. Probably 2 get out. Now, could it be where one of those teams that you thought was getting out that were playing at home doesn't? Sure. And then one of the ones on the road do. Yeah, sure, that could happen. I can see that happening too. I just don't think, the more I deep dove into the 1A bracket, outside of Neighborhood Academy, I'm not sure there's anybody in there that anybody should go, boy, we can't beat. Okay. And, so Elk sitting on the opposite end of Neighborhood Academy, could they do what Otto Eldred did last year and go to the state semifinals and then, hey, toss it up, see what happens? Okay. Especially an Aaron Straub coach team. Why not? Right. Like, they can, if they get hot from the outside, they're really dangerous. They don't have a lot of height though. That's a real issue, I think, right now for the Crusaders is the lack of height inside, and teams that, that's how Johnsonburg exposed them in the D9 Central League Championship game with Parker Calla. But, I love Chase Simback. I think he's one of the best players in District 9. I think that Jack Brindle, while maybe not the tall kid, is well built. And I guess I just forgotten that Jack's only a sophomore, Rich. Right. Like you get like, wow, okay.
One of the good junior. I mean, I coached junior high at Brookville, and when Jack went through, his brother was, Charlie's. He's just finishing up, believe it or not, at Penn State Barron. Jack was one of the better players that I've seen in the last few years. I'm not surprised to see him be an effective player. Maybe not always scoring a lot, but doing the other stuff. Let's go to Double A. 3 teams getting through, and we had a Red Bank win over Clarion again in the district final. The Bulldogs overachieve, surprise. I don't know. We felt this bracket could be won by a couple teams, and I think the 2 teams that made it to the finals, Clarion and Red Bank, were the teams. And then good for Port Allegheny, they're the 3rd seed. But this Red Bank team, Chris, I mean, Braylon Wagner and Jackson Huffman and Caden Sturgeon scored about all their points. Those guys willed that team, and they played a lot of good D. Jake did a great job.
Hey, maybe the heroes for that team were 2 guys that you didn't mention, and that's Titus Smith and Wyatt Byers, who just committed to playing defense and lockdown defense on the other team's best players and not needing to worry about scoring. They committed their entire play to being great defensively. And that's where Red Bank really changed things. They went from giving up 45, 46 points a game to giving up like 37, 36 points a game in the postseason. And,
Right.
what do they say about defense? It wins championships, it travels the whole 9 yards, and then when you're doing that and you have a player of Braylon Wagner's caliber, who can just literally put a team on his back and score 35 to win a game, it's a difference. And I think they've got a really good matchup. Last year I didn't think they had a good matchup in the first round. They didn't. This year I think they do. I think Jefferson Morgan is kind of an upstart out of the WPIAL. They come from Greene County. It's not like they're coming from the inner city or anything like that. It's a school district that's a lot like Red Bank. It's a small AA school district. It's a small poor AA school district. Got to figure those two are pretty comparable. And then Red Bank's playing at home, and
that's 26 years since Jefferson Morgan's been there. Like 2000 is a Class A team. So yeah, the wow factor could be there, and you're traveling a couple hours.
Yeah, and speaking of a wow factor, how about Port Allegany? Only in the state playoffs for the fourth time in school history, the first time since 1996. 1989 and 1958, by the way, were the other two. 1958. What were you doing in 1958, Rich?
Nothing, but in 96, that was a single A championship game against Coudersport, I believe, and Port lost to Cowdy.
They won the district title in 58. They lost in 96, and then they finished third this year, beating Montauk, who was my darling. Boy, did they make me look dumb.
Well, give credit to Port Allegany. They're there for the North Tier, and they got the third seed. And they have
Jared Funk is a really underappreciated 1,000-point scorer. When we talk about 1,000-point scorers, I'm not sure Jared Funk's name came to the forefront at the beginning of the season that he was going to finish as a 1,000-point scorer for them. But
we always felt that why not throw some jump balls to him in football more? That kid's a big dude.
They're gonna go down to Bishop McCourt. Bishop McCourt, by the way, coached by Chris Fowle of Clarion University baseball fame.
Okay,
so
there you go.
And Bishop McCourt, of course, sued the LHAC and all of its schools, including Clearfield, over what they felt was an attempt to get them thrown out of the conference. So it adds a little bit of a public-private interest to all of that. So.
Obviously, McCourt, the Crimson Crushers are the favorites. We mentioned,
I guess they're 16-9. It's not like they're overly, and they lost to United in the championship. United is 27-0, but I don't know how good they are at 27-0. They only beat Punxsutawney by 11. Punxsutawney had 2 wins this year.
Yeah, that gives us pause. You're right. You mentioned that. We mentioned the Berries going to Aliquippa. Tough draw for them. I've been there. Literally been in that gym. Brookfield's played there in the past. That is a very hard gym, and I would expect it's going to be a big challenge for the Berries. But we don't want to underestimate the Berries. But they got their hands full, right?
Yes.
Simply put, that's a WPIAL champs.
Yeah, they got their hands full. Big time.
For a boys, we don't have anybody. I guess
that's it for our boys.
Okay, so let's go to the girls Class A girls, Chris, and it was a heck of a run for Clarion Limestone. First title since 1988. That team I did a story on with Jim McCracken. They were the 10 seed.
I was in 6th grade, by the way.
What's that?
I was in 6th grade, by the way.
Oh, 6th grade, yeah. I didn't cover that team. I was a year out of college, or a year out of high school. I was in college. Jim McCracken's team was a 10 seed. This wasn't quite the Cinderella run, but
according to one media, it was.
Oh, okay. Well,
they were the 4 seed in a bracket where they were the 4 seed in a bracket where probably anyone in the top 4 could have won it. So
they get to host St. Joseph. That's the Natrona Heights St. Joseph, and that's Saturday at 1:00. Lady Lions, boy, Hannah Beggs has really turned it up here. We've kind of wowed about her as she's really played well. And congratulations for a 1,000-point season, or as a junior, she's reached 1,000 points.
Well, and reached it along with her dad. Maybe the first father-daughter at the same school in District 9 history. Dave Constantino and Kate Constantino have also done it, but Dave did it at Punxsutawney and Kate did it at Clarion. I'm not seeing a father-daughter having done it at the same school in District 9. So little bit of history made there. And what's really interesting here is they could play St. Joseph in the first round and they could play St. Joseph's in the second round. Or if St. Joseph would knock them off, we could have St. Joseph versus St. Joseph's. If you were broadcasting that game, Rich, how confusing would that be?
Yeah, you would have. I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's St. Joseph Catholic Academy of District 6, which is in Boalsburg. Those two teams did play 2 years ago. What about the rest of that single A? I mean, Union Newcastle, not to be mistaken with Union Reimersburg, they go to Elk County Catholic Girls Saturday afternoon. Du Bois Central at Bishop Carroll, the D6 runner-up. Otto Eldred, the 9-4, they're going to go to Bishop Guilfoyle, the District 6 champs. Those appear to be
the third and the fourth. Let me put it this way, Rich. If Du Bois Central or Otto Eldred win, it's going to be upsets of epic proportions. That District 6 single A right now is the best district in the state. They could have 4 teams. They could have all 4 of their teams again advance to the quarterfinals. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
In that Union Newcastle is an interesting school. A couple years ago, they were, I think, state champions. This year, they're a team that is 14-7. They lost their last 2 games to Sarah Catholic and Aquinas Academy. I don't have a good feel for them on where they're at. I mean, again, that's one of those small schools that's been really good recently, but I don't know if this is their best. Again, though, this isn't a great Elk team. I don't think anybody. Right. I don't even think Ken Pisner would tell you it's a great Elk team.
Right.
They're hard nosed. I love Peyton Newton. They're going to have to find a way to get Peyton Newton going, though, Rich. She was not a factor at all in the game against Clarion Limestone. They did a good job of denying her the basketball and really keeping her from scoring. And it's been a bit of a struggle. She had 9 points against Northern Potter. She had 5 against Bradford. She's not playing real well right now. And really good player, really good senior. And, maybe the week off will do her good as well. But they need her to go. If she's going, then I give them a shot. With her and Pulaski and, a couple of the freshmen, Avery Stoffer is really good. Lainey Wiesner is really good. So they have some talent there. And they're playing at home. And again, they're playing at Elk. And right. Elk, just like their boys, that's in, little bit easier of a trip for Union Newcastle, but still.
Right. 2A girls, we said that was a wide open and maybe not a strong bracket. We have Keystone at home against Aliquippa, the Whitfield 5. Kane, the runner-up from D9 at home against the Whitfield 3. Chartiers Houston. Are we assuming those are 2 tough games for them?
Yeah, and why not? I mean, I'll just lay it out there so they can continue to use me as the they, and maybe it'll take them into the second round. I just don't like that matchup for Keystone in that first round. But then again, I haven't liked the matchup for Keystone so far, and all they've done is gone out and proved me wrong. Peyton McElravy has grown up in a hurry. 20-19, 20-20, depending on whose stats you want to listen to, followed by 19-17. We're talking points and rebounds in 2 district playoff games. I mean, Rich, that's as good of a district playoffs from a player that we've seen in a long time, let alone a sophomore.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say she's an underclassman. I was really impressed with her when I saw her this year at Brookville. McElravy is a very
This isn't even her best sport.
Yeah.
She's a stud softball player.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hats off to the D9 champs there. But I say the fame, and this comes up in football as much as any other sport. Somebody has to be they, and
sure.
Why not? Why not?
They've taken it and run, and Peyton's taken it and run. That's okay. Peyton lives 2 doors down from me, so
okay, there you go.
I've known Peyton for a long time, so it doesn't bother me that Peyton has taken me and Keystone's taken me and used me as they. In Absolutely. This case, that's 100% fine.
I learned a long time ago. Controversy sells.
Yeah, if I just keep saying they're going to lose and they keep winning, they can keep talking about it at the end.
No problem. Right? 3A, Carn City Girls and Steve Andressi. They're at home. No, they're at Montauk at home against Seton LaSalle, the Whitfield 4. Greensburg Central Catholic is going to go to Hampton High to host the D9 the runner up there with Cranberry. It appears to be a tough trip for Cranberry. Does Karn City have a chance?
Oof, I don't know. I mean, they play great defense, and when you play great defense, that's always a plus factor. Um, you know, you never quite know sometimes with these teams that, like, finished fourth in the Whippio and what it exactly means. And
well, as you're yeah. I mean, Emma Vaneski is on our short
Naomi.
Emma, where'd I get Emma?
I don't know where you got Emma from.
Naomi Vaneski, clearly one of the best players in District 9. And one thing that jumps out to me when I watch her play, and this is something that by varsity, the kids should be doing it, but it is really hard to get these kids to do it. She talks on defense. And you know how Steve is with his defense. It's team defense, playing hard, making it not ugly. Good defense does not.
Yeah, but it does make it ugly. And
she is fantastic in that asset, and she's a great athlete and does everything else basketball-wise. That's what jumped out at me when I watched her at Karn City when they played Red Bank. And she's going to have to be, game on. And then Taylor Ritzer, fantastic freshman for the Lady.
Yeah, and the nice thing about them is they got a couple of role players who understand their roles. Hannah Daly, Olivia Farron, players that can get hot from the outside. And again, the 3-pointer can be a real game changer. And we also saw where they struggled mightily against CL for 3.5 quarters in the KSAC title game, and then found a way to win that game, mainly because their defense was there. Again, defense travels, and it's very interesting how that'll go. I don't know how that'll go. If you're asking me, those are up in the air games to me.
Do you like
back to Double A? You kind of glossed right over Kane, but the one thing that could make that game a game is Addison Haight. I mean, Addison Haight hit 1,000 points, the second fastest to do it in District 9 history, and did it quicker than Shanna Mosh did. And we all know Shanna Mosh, if people aren't aware, Shanna Mosh, all-time District 9 leading scorer with over 3,000 career points. Of course, 1,000 of those came as a senior.
By the way, that was a pretty good season to cover. I did cover Shannon, and she's on my short list for Rhodes Pod interviews. I guess I was thinking about that last time. Like, why haven't I not tried that? But anyhow,
but yeah, I mean, whenever you have a player of that caliber, you can't just automatically say they're out of the game. And the difference is okay. So they played Keystone. Keystone had played them already. Keystone's very well aware of Addison Haight and what her strengths and weaknesses are. And, who knows? Again, you've got film on her, but does film tell you the whole story?
Well, my question, doesn't this go back to the Kayla Huahuli factor, where the team that showed up to play St. Mary's years ago didn't do any homework and she killed them?
Oh yeah, she scored 51 or 52 against them. I mean, greatest single game performance I've ever witnessed.
Who was the team that lost to them? Greensburg Central Catholic?
Who did
St. Mary's beat with who?
They beat Hampton that year.
Hampton. Okay.
They beat Hampton that year.
Yeah.
And then she got hurt in the next game, and that just killed them. If she hadn't gotten hurt, they might have made a little bit of a run, but she tweaked a knee, and even when we had the All-Star game, we let her go out and she shot 3 3-pointers, but that was all that really was her shooting 3-pointers.
I was covering the Masters that year.
Were you? Was that year you were covering the Masters?
Yeah, I didn't see who come up.
Name drop, I guess.
Yeah. Clearfield girls. Speaking of Mosh, Dr. George Mosh is an assistant coach for the Lady Bison, who hosts Bell Vernon at 1:00 on Saturday. Boy, they have some star power, Chris. I was very impressed with what I saw for the first time when they handled Carrick in the sub-regional final. How good are they? And
they're good enough to win that game. They won that game last year. I think they're good enough to win that game again this year. Then it gets hard. I think they get 7-2, and that's just a whole different level. But there's a team that has a win over Hollidaysburg this year, and Hollidaysburg is always one of the top girls programs in the state, and they didn't quite have the season. They're 18-6, but they are playing in the state playoffs, and They did lose to Altoona though in the District 6 championship game, and they. Speaking of which, boy, that's really surprising. Starting with that loss to Clearfield on February 6th, Hollidaysburg went 1-4 down the stretch. Rich, that's not something you hear very often from the Tigers.
No. Okay, so Chris Rossetti, D9and10sports.com, YDL Sports Network. And I'm going to give you a chance to plug District 10 because there's a lot of good teams out there. Obviously, it's D9and10sports.com. Keeping it tight on them, what teams are going to make or could very well make deep runs? And obviously, we got to start with the Cathedral Prep.
Cathedral Prep. I mean, if you want to talk about a team that is got everything it needs to make a run like that, the Ramblers are that. I mean, they come in, they're 24-1. Their lone loss was to Newman Goretti. Anybody who's a basketball fan knows what kind of program that is. Rich, they're averaging 92.3 points a game. 92.3 points a game.
Yeah.
They're basically running that system that Pitt Bradford ran last year, that West Liberty runs, that Fayetteville State runs, that Nova Southeastern, where you're running, you're gunning, you're playing full court defense, you're doing the whole 9 yards, and that team could win a state title. That team might be the best 4A team in the state.
That's impressive. Anybody else? Farrell? Any Farrells making some noise? Anybody else?
The Farrell girls could win a game or two in the States. Janiyah Daniels is a really nice player for them. The Eisenhower boys are a team that I think you got to see them at least once when they were at Brookville. They're a team that's kind of like Cathedral Prep light, I like to call them. They do a lot of full court pressing. They do a lot of getting up and down, taking a bunch of 3-pointers. They average almost 78 points a game. They get one of those quasi home games too. They get to play at Warren High School, but when they're on shooting threes, they could beat anybody in the state. Really,
and they actually weren't in the games against D9. They really hadn't been, right?
Not really. But it's interesting. The thought process with that team is shoot enough threes, and eventually they're going to go down, and you're all of a sudden going to go on a 9-0 or 12-0 or 15-2 run or something like that. And, maybe you missed 10 in a row and the game was close or you were down, but then all of a sudden you start hitting them and the game changes.
Well,
it's an NBA philosophy in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, you're right. And a good talented team that can shoot outside is scary. And we'll see how that goes.
And they got a freshman in Kamani Vine. I mean, my goodness, Rich, he's a freshman who looks like he's a senior, and they're loaded. I mean, they're going to be loaded next year too. All their best players are underclassmen. Austin Hansen, 1,300-point career scorer as a junior. Kamani Vine, Liam Hansen. I mean, that's a really good team. I like Sharon too. Sharon, I got a chance to see Sharon. Sharon's a young team, very well coached by Louis Brown. Lots of history there as well, and they're in 4A. And they lost to Cathedral Prep, but that game was an exciting game. It was 99-80, Rich. We don't get to cover very many games like that. And 99-80, that's a team that could make a little bit of noise too. And then on the girls' side, it'll be AA girls is really interesting to me. From the District 10 perspective, Kennedy Catholic is not the District 10 champion for the first time in 16 years. They'd won 15 in a row. Wow. They'd beaten Wilmington twice during the regular season. Once it was in overtime. Wilmington knocked them off 43-40, I think the final score was. And it was Wilmington's first ever District 10 championship.
Wow. Okay.
And if you can see some of the clips of them celebrating, they celebrated appropriately.
And beating the standard bearer for the
title. And yet you look at the bracket, and you could be looking at if Keystone would beat Aliquippa, you'd be looking at Kennedy and Keystone possibly in the second round.
Okay.
Kennedy is still good enough to make some sort of run. I mean, obviously they won state championships 2 years ago and 3 years ago. They were state runners up 4 years ago. They made it to the state quarterfinals last year. course, they don't have Lake Field anymore, but they do have 2,000-point scorers in Bella Magestro and Tori Harvey, and well coached in Justin Magestro, and probably feeling a little salty right now, I would imagine too. So,
yeah.
And you start to look at the bracket, and the bracket might actually play out better for them on the side that they're on. Again, I'll never understand. We talked a little bit about site locations. Sometimes the brackets are a little strange too in the PIAA. You start looking,
and some teams that have heartache in the district playoffs end up taking advantage of the bracket in front of them moving forward, and we've seen that. Okay, so
one other thing I want to mention, it would be really cool if it happened. I don't know if it's going to actually happen because they would have to each win 2 games for it to happen. Northwestern's in AAA. They've got Michaela Presser-Palmer, all-time leading scorer in District 10 history, over 2,500 career points. She's going to Arizona. Wow. Their assistant coach is Karn City graduate Emily Hedges.
Yes.
And Emily's dad, Mike, is an assistant coach for Karn City. They are 2 wins each away from meeting in the quarterfinals of the state, and that'd be really cool, wouldn't it?
Well, we're looking for rooting interests and storylines. That would be on the list somewhere. Okay, so District 9, kind of an over/under where we're at for wins based on our conversation, and you can refine this. I'm looking at 5 to 6 boys teams between all the D9 teams and 2 to 3 girls teams. Is that what we're coming up with? You can look at the brackets there, and I'm saying 3 or 4 1A boys get through. 2A boys.
I'm going 4 boys teams get through, and 3 girls teams get through to the second round from
4 and 3, 7. And we didn't mention Clarion in their matchup. The Clarion boys, the runner-up. Maybe they're playing Muncie.
Yeah, it's a repeat of a game last year.
Oh wow!
They were both runners-up in their district. Obviously, Clarion in 9, Muncie in 10. Muncie in 4. Muncie came over to Clarion last year. Clarion beat them by double digits, like 14, 15, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Got to like that matchup then for them, maybe.
Yeah, I like the fact they're not on the university court, where for whatever reason that court seems to be in their head. I don't completely but it just that they've lost 4 in a row on that, 5 in a row on that court. Oh no, 5 out of 6 on that court. They did win a KSAC semifinal game this year on it, but they lost to Elk in the regular season. They lost to Red Bank. They lost to Cranberry. They lost to Red Bank twice last year in the KSAC in the district. So they've lost 5 of 6 on that court, which really is baffling when you think about the fact that of any school that those players might be able to go in and get into that gym and shoot around or whatever, that'd be the one. So, them or CL would have the easiest time doing that.
So you're saying 4 D9 teams, which you're predicting roughly who would those be?
Johnsonburg, Elk, North, Clarion, and Red Bank Valley on the boys' side.
Okay. And North Clarion's at one of those gray area teams.
Yeah, perhaps. And so is Cameron County.
Okay.
I mean, we could get as many as 6, but I'm going with 4 right now.
Okay. And then the girls' side.
The 2 higher seeded A teams, Elk and CL, I think can get through, and I think Clearfield gets through.
Right. Last question before we go. What's the next collectible you're going to put on the wall behind you in your main?
I'm running out of wall space. I've got pennants that I can't get up because I've run out of wall space. I've got ceiling space, and so as you can see there, and I've got one of those Pizza Hut Final Four balls that they were giving away a few years ago. I made sure I got one of those, and it's I got a little bit of everything here on the walls. I'm looking at a terrible towel along with a Hershey Bears pennant, and then my boy Al Jeski gave me a Bill Robertson and Roberto Clemente, like one of those faux signed photos, probably done with. They're probably not like authentic signatures, right. But in frames, and then I'm looking at Steve Blast jumping for joy on a giveaway from PNC Park, and then strangely enough, next to all that, Rich, you won't believe what's there. In fact, I'm gonna reach up and pull one down, and you're gonna look at me like I'm strange. So It is a replica. It's a postcard of a from a Dutch artist, Frans Hals.
Push it up a little bit. Okay, so give me the short story on that. I'm sure you have a story.
So the short story on that is, as you and some other people know, I love going to San Diego. San Diego is like my happy place. And
Padres.
In San Diego, they have a park called Balboa Park. Balboa Park's most famous for the San Diego Zoo, but there's a lot more in Balboa Park than just the San Diego Zoo. And one of the things they have in Balboa Park is a free art museum. And I never took myself as being a guy that would want to go and enjoy going to an art museum, but I did, and I really enjoyed it. And I bought a couple of postcards of a couple of the paintings I liked the most. They have a Rembrandt in there, which was pretty cool to see. And they have a lot of they have some really, like I said, everybody knows it because of the San Diego Zoo, but there's so much more to see there. They've got a Japanese garden that's really neat, and they have a Comic-Con museum that's pretty cool, and they have one of the nicest air and space museums that you'll see. Maybe the third nicest one I've seen in the country, behind the one in Dayton, Ohio, the U.S. Air Force Museum, which if anybody has, and look, we're close enough that Dayton, Ohio is a 4 or 5 hour drive. It's worth the trip if you're into history and into the military stuff. That's a really cool museum to go to, the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton. You could spend a week there easily. They have, you can tour old Air Force Ones. They have old ballistic missiles that carried warheads. Really neat stuff. And then obviously the one in DC is pretty cool too. The Smithsonian.
Clearly, we've talked enough to where I knew you might go there if I started bringing up different things, because traveling and enjoying the country is one of your big passions, and I think that you should well, I know that if I was traveling and planning a trip, I'm actually talking to you and getting some ideas right out of the gate before I go from there. So for anybody watching this at the end, by the end here, you didn't expect to get some travel advice.
The most underrated city I've been to, Rich, is Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah.
Obviously you got the Negro League Museum, but you got the World War I Museum, which was fantastic. You've got Harry Truman's Presidential Library, which was really neat. It's even got some stuff from him dropping the atomic bomb, like the plug that they plugged in that you had to pull out to make it live. It's in there. Letters from him discussing the idea of dropping the atomic bomb. I didn't even get to go to the College Basketball Hall of Fame.
Negro Leagues, you did go to that.
Yeah, I did
right?
do the Negro Leagues. It is, sometimes those places disappoint you. You hear so much about them and then you go and you're disappointed. That was definitely not the kind of place that you were disappointed. It is absolutely worth it. The barbecue. Oh my goodness, the barbecue.
Food connoisseur Chris Rossetti as well.
Yeah, it was really neat. I did a story on the St. Louis Arch for our news site up in Warren, yourdailylocal.com. For those who don't know, we have a news site in Warren, and the Arch, 80% of it was built in Warren, and at a steel mill up there. And then a bunch of them went to St. Louis and helped put it together. And it was the 60th anniversary this past October of it opening. And so I went and I did a big story on the Arch and got to go up in it and interview one of the people with the National Park Service. And that was really cool. And boy, they had some good ribs in St. Louis too. I actually like the St. Louis ribs better than I like the Kansas City ribs.
Do you have any vacations or trips booked at the moment?
I don't. I've been battling what I want to do this summer. I don't know. Usually by this time I know what I want to do, and I don't know what I want to do yet. I know Andy Close and I have talked about maybe me coming up and seeing him in Connecticut and maybe going down to a Mets game. I'm down to only needing 7 stadiums to complete the 30 stadium tour.
We could have a podcast on your stadium tour.
Yeah, we could. Sure. We should probably do that at some point in time.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Yeah, let's wrap this up. Yeah. Chris Rossetti from the YDL Sports Network, D910sports.com. Nobody watches more basketball in District 9 than Chris, so it was good to have him have us chatting, talking about the past, the future, and what's going on this year, which is, hopefully some people get a chance to check out what's going on. We are they, and we called it out.
I'm definitely they for Keystone. There's no question there.
No doubt about it. Chris, good to have you on. Have a good one, man.
Thanks, Rich.